Okay, all right. Well, good evening. We'll go ahead and get started at 6 o'clock. I'd like to call this regular Board of Education meeting to order. First item on the agenda is approval of the agenda.
Oh, I move to approve the agenda.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve the agenda as presented. All those in favor? Motion carried 6-0. So no Deb. Not aware that that's not.
She'll be here.
Okay. Okay, thanks for everyone that's here, tonight, and those of you that are also online joining us this evening, appreciate you being here. Next item is, item 4. So recognition of board members.
Yeah, so we just wanted to take a few minutes and recognize and thank our 3 outgoing board members, Paige Chapman, April Pearson, and Deborah Brown, and we really, really appreciate your service. Can't say thank you enough for your time. I know it's a high-paid job and you're giving up a lot, but we do appreciate your time. Just in time, Deb. We were just thanking you for your service and time served on the board, and we are just so thankful that you are willing to serve our district and our community. So thank you to you 3. We do have gifts for you, but they did not arrive in time, and so we will get those to you once we get them. And so
If I can get the pay retroactively.
Oh, thank you.
Double
Been working on that
zero.
for 30 years. So if I
Okay,
can
hard
get-
on that.
I'll
Yeah,
get it paid
no such luck.
I'll get it to you.
Well, I just want to say, that it's been an honor and a privilege, to have been a member of this board for 8 years, in all sincerity. And so thank you to each one of you that have, helped me learn, and Mr. Nelson's, leadership. Originally when I started, when you were on the board, so, you weren't superintendent, but I do appreciate everything that you've done, and, likewise to all the staff. I think I'm reminded probably daily about the dedication and commitment from all of you. So it's greatly appreciated. We see what you're doing and keep it up. So thank you. Okay. So we will receive communications now. Looks like we have received an invitation to the Wakefield High School's annual Christmas dinner. And that is on December the 19th at 12:30 p.m. in the cafeteria. So that sounds like fun. So if anybody can attend, you've all been formally invited. Semi-formal is the attire. Okay. Anybody else have anything they'd like to share at this time on the communication piece? Okay. Citizens open forum. I don't think we have anybody signed up. So then we'll move to positive board comments.
I just have one thing. The 2nd and 3rd graders put on a wonderful program last week, and just thankful for the teachers that helped make that possible. It's fun and the kids do a great job, and just glad that we have a music department. And then the junior high did a choir concert that night too. They did a great job. So thankful for our music department.
It's kind of the same line of that. I actually enjoyed hearing the students performing at KMEA District Choir and Band. It was very impressive. And have enjoyed the student ensembles that we're hearing playing holiday songs around town. I also want to take a little bit to commend our administrators for supporting our teachers and staff. I've been hearing great things about our administrators, and I know they don't always get to hear that, but we appreciate them.
And Mr. Young, congratulations to him to being recognized
Yeah.
from KMA about his support of music education. It's important to have administrators that support music ed in school, and we're lucky to have our administrators who do that for our students and our staff. So
Anybody else?
I just wanted to say thank you to the constituents who reached out to us during our time on the board. Don't be afraid, keep it up. Like, thanks for caring. Thanks for being involved and listening and watching the meetings and seeing what's going on in the district and caring enough to reach out. And even if we don't agree, at least we know where you stand. So, yeah.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. That takes us to the consent agenda section. Anybody have any comments, questions, anything you want to move to discussion?
Question now, how much is, since we're closing out the stadium, how much is in the arch fund? Like for the RTD.
The bid was 175,000.
No, but how much money is in that account? How much is?
Andrew,
Is it $29?
one donation for $50.
Well, the donation tonight, is that going towards that too, or is that something else?
No,
What's
and
that for?
the donation was things that were in the Tiger Ladies Fund donated to the stadium project. The only donation that was specific that said, and there was the match day.
Right.
That donation was in there as well, the people that gave on.
So that was the final closeout donation of everything that was left in there.
Tonight's donation.
Yeah, so the only thing that remains in there is that $50 donation that specifically said for the workplace.
For the art.
Any other questions?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Sorry.
A motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as presented. All those in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Takes us to reports. Does any board member have something to report this evening?
Yeah, I was going to share a little bit more from KSB, specifically from Randy Watson's presentation at KSB. He talked about the 4 levels of the state assessment, and you guys are aware, but level 1 means that they're not quite meeting state standards. Level 2 meets standards, and so on, and that's a predictor of a student's likelihood of being able to earn a college degree. But what I really took from his presentation was the percentage of kids that are level 1 who do successfully earn a college degree, and the level of kids who are level 4 who do not earn a college degree. And that difference, that defining factor on that is grit, that perseverance, that ability to work through difficult things. And then he talked about how our social emotional learning curriculum that's happening in our schools helps build those skills in our kids. So I really liked that part of his presentation. He also talked about the problems with chronic absenteeism, which is defined as the percentage of students who miss 10% or more school days per year. He presented statistics and then looked at that inverse correlation between chronic absenteeism and successful graduation. The state average for 21 and 22, remember that was a pretty big COVID year, that was 25.4% chronic absenteeism. USD 379 was 19.5% that year. If you look at the principal reports this month, you see that it continues to be a focus for our school buildings, and we're really happy to see the high 90s consistently for our attendance rates for our buildings. So it's great to go to those conferences, see the state focus, see why it's the state focus, and then see how that's being implemented at the local level.
We just looked at that this week, and we are, as a district wide, we're sitting at 9% chronic absenteeism right now, and that was as of like Thursday of last week. So, we trend on a very positive trajectory over the last couple of years. So, and it's just a testament to all the work that Lisa heads that up, Lisa Lath, and meets with every building counselor, administrator, and staff once a month, and they have a comprehensive list and a plan for how we're going to address that absenteeism, because we know when students are not at school, they can't learn. So thank you for recognizing that. It takes a lot of hard work.
We appreciate it.
Ms. Oliver? Okay, awesome. Anybody else? Okay, then we'll move to Mr. Nelson's superintendent report.
Yes, thank you. I've been attending several statewide meetings with superintendents the last few weeks, and significant time has been spent talking about the upcoming legislative session and some of the top things that we anticipate coming out of that session. And I'm sure if you've watched any news, read any articles from any, whether it be state organizations, school district organizations, special ed funding is going to be heavily talked about. They have the special committee going on right now that they're meeting periodically. There's an upcoming meeting here in about a month or so. And just wanted to share a reminder. I know I've talked to you guys about this over time, but as we know, special education is a very important program for all of our school districts for obvious reasons, but also I think something that's very significant for us to consider is, yes, we believe in that program. Yes, we need to serve our students and families, not only because it's the right thing to do, but it's also state and federal law to do so. And so it is a mandated program, and it's currently being funded at about 71 or 72%. And so that means that as a local school district, we're making up for about 20% of that funding. It's statutorily supposed to be funded at 92%. And so we are making up that difference. And for our district, that means every year we're supplementing between $650,000 and $700,000 a year out of our LOB fund over to special ed to fund that program. And so it is important. I'm happy to answer questions at any time, but if you believe in us having the ability to imagine an extra $650,000 in our general fund that we could put towards students and teachers and programming. And also, if you really think about it too, we can keep our taxes steady or declining even with that kind of extra revenue coming in. As you remember, LOB, we're going to lose state aid every year for the next 3 years because it's on a 3-year average. Talked to you guys a lot about that last spring. And so we are going to have, if we want to fund the same budget that we have, we either in the next 3 years, we're either going to have to raise taxes or make cuts. And so that money could really, really help us accomplish, not only continuing to take care of our staff through benefits and compensation packages, but also offset some of those costs so we can keep our taxes steady or declining. So just want to put that plug in. I'm happy to answer questions. Please stay engaged during this upcoming session. Communicate individually with our representatives, let them know how important that is and what that could mean to programming and services in our school district. We have our annual KSDE audit. They'll be here December 18th, and they'll spend a significant amount of time here auditing all of our funds, enrollment. And this is KSD's annual audit. We already did our private audit. And so now this is KSD, and they'll come in and audit CAT aid and special ed and enrollment, free and reduced, those kinds of things will all be as a part of their annual audit. And then basically, once they're done, we'll have a very solid grasp on where we were with count day, where we are with weightings, where we are with legal max. All of those things, we should have a very, very good idea of where we sit. And then it seems crazy, but as we hit January and February, we already start thinking closeout, budgeting for the next year. And so that's kind of the first step in that process to know and understand where we are. Federal, a lot of reports for the gals in the SAC office this month and the next month. Federal impact aid is due very soon. And so those surveys go out to families this week. And that's surveying any students or families that have, if you think, a connection to Fort Riley or any kind of families or parents that work directly with the federal government. And then it has to do with some other pieces, but we do get a little bit of funding for any family that does serve at the federal level. And we also get compensated some for on impact aid. We have some property in our district in our county that doesn't get taxed because it's federal property. And so impact aid helps make up the loss of what we don't get on property taxes. And so not a lot, but I think Milford Lake's a part of that, and a few little different areas where we do. It's not a lot of money, but every little bit helps. Our annual federal ESSER audit reports coming up. That's a significant job for Andrea in our office and others that work really hard to make sure that all the, T's are crossed and I's dotted there. It's a big job. And ESSER is ending September 24th. All of our federal ESSER dollars have to be either encumbered or spent. And if they're just encumbered by the 24th, they have to be spent by December. And so we will be done with ESSER money this time next year, and probably 95% done by September. And our last retention incentives go out September 1st of next year, as long as negotiations and the board agrees to do that again. We write a letter of understanding. We didn't put that into an agreement, but because it is compensation to our team, we do have to negotiate it. And so we would need to do that for one more year if that's what the board chooses to do. And then we have civil rights data collection that opens next month also, and that's a report or a survey that's done every other year. And so they collect a whole bunch of information from us as a district in another report that takes a significant amount of time by the employees in our office. And the last thing I put down here today, I had kind of forgotten about that it was coming up so quickly. But last year we did a survey to Wakefield patrons regarding interest in preschool at Wakefield. And we had, I think, one or maybe two families say that they would attend last year. We're hoping that we have enough students that would qualify and or be interested to open up dialogue about the possibility of a preschool program in Wakefield. It's just a matter of numbers, like anywhere. If we can get, enough, then I think it's something, in my opinion, that we ought to talk further about. But the first step is to see if we have enough interest from families that might qualify. So that'll be going out in the next couple of weeks. And so watch for that. So that's my report for the month.
Is that survey going out? It's not just the city of Wakefield, are you sending it out to, how do you say that?
So how'd we do it last year, Jacqueline? We sent it to all the parents, of course, in Wakefield.
Our school to anybody with Wakefield and then posted on social media, but I think we'll probably send home flyers too to families, and I don't know where else.
We put it in the gas, we put flyers in the gas
Posted
station.
around town like a QR code where they scan it, because they actually put the kiddo's name and birth date so we can see what their age is. Because they could be 2 right now, turning 3 by August 31st and still potentially qualify or count, so.
I think we even did we do something on the radio? I think maybe.
That was for child check.
Oh,
we did.
child check.
Which is
The
how you
preschool.
qualify for preschool. In the past, that's how you qualify for preschool child check.
I was just thinking of people that live in the country down that way, that there's quite a few little guys that.
Sure. Open to ideas on however we.
I
can
mean,
get the
because
word
they,
out.
I mean, they're not within the school system.
Right, because
And they're not in the, I mean, their oldest is the preschool kid.
Right.
So that's, I'm just curious how you're gonna get a hold of those families.
Parents as teachers also does a lot of work with, like letting people with younger kids know information, so it might be good to reach out to them. And infant toddlers, another good resource we have in our district that meets with families with young kids.
Might get a little bit more response because that one that was at the church is no longer there.
Yeah.
Which kind of conflicted with the others, so there.
Mhm.
I don't know, maybe I ought to send something to the little town of Milford, some fashion, because those kids come from Milford after the 5th grade. They could get started over here earlier. It wouldn't, they or have siblings that are in school in Wakefield already that, hey, if I can drop my other one off for, type things. Might be something to think about anyway.
Anything else for Mr. Mel?
You said something about republishing the budget.
Yeah, I think we have it.
Do we have that on there?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a business item. Okay, anything else? All right, then, Anita's report, director's report is also attached.
And I put the date of that meeting that Mr. Nelson was talking about, January 5th. And there are 8 regions, in Kansas, special ed regions, and we're in region 8. And we just met last week, and we're trying to, at least in our region, have representation from every co-op or interlocal. We'll be at that meeting. Our plan is to staff the house with special education people, while that committee is meeting. Plan. But I do have a list of all the people who are on that task force. I send it to you, if you want to, that way they have the people who are going to be the ones making those decisions. If you send it.
And the task force is planning on making a recommendation. Is that your understanding?
Mhm.
That day, the 5th.
I think that day, the first thing they're doing is electing a chairman, but they're required to meet one time, but I think they can meet more. One of the people in our region is on that task force.
Okay.
That's what she was saying, so. I don't know how much will get done that day, but That's what we're planning
I
on
can
doing.
send that info to you guys.
Any questions for Anita? Mr. including the, coffee isn't enough.
You know, the one thing in there that I took out of that was the, I don't remember what page it's on. She really hit it when she said your window of tolerance. And, you know, it just made me think, everybody, you know, myself included, or when you're working with people, things happen at home and then they come to work and their window of tolerance is a little bit smaller depending on what's happened prior to that. And I think sometimes we just need to keep that in mind when we're working with people. We don't know what's going on, how long, you know, we pop into a school and we don't know what happened, how bad morning might have been when we're there in the afternoon. And sometimes they might just be a little short, but sometimes your ability to tolerate things. My son just had a baby and he was like freaking out. And I just said, right now, your window of tolerance is very small.
Yeah.
We'll get there. I've just gone to that. It's like, that really does make sense.
It applies,
And it's just things into perspective. So I try to remember that.
Window of tolerance, so it go away 18 years from now.
Really though?
I was gonna say, I heard it's
Don't
not
ever
just
go
magically,
away, trust me.
yeah.
That's why I always tell people, the difference between your boys, little boys, and my big boys is the price of their toys.
Oh.
That's true.
Awesome. Okay, thank you. All right, then we'll move on to Director of Curriculum and Instruction report by Jennifer.
I listed on there some upcoming PD, and then, I'm gonna do a little academic ambassadors, just a little video, just gives a glimpse into our classrooms, and I'm sending the first one out in January. So if anybody can sign up, if they want to receive that email, and I'm trying to keep the video to 8 to 10 minutes, so they'll actually watch it. I've enjoyed that. Just finished up some of the elementary and showing the cursive writing lessons that they were doing in the classroom and some really good fluency reading. So look forward to sharing that with patrons who would like to see that. Our driver's ed program is still open for enrollment. Our numbers are about where they normally are. We usually see a big, oh yeah, we need to sign up about the 1st of January, right when we close it. So, but we have staff available to handle those, and excited to get that started.
Hey, Jacqueline, how many districts offer that?
For just driver's ed?
Yeah.
Gosh, I don't know. There was a time period where getting the qualification was a different process. It was through the Department of Transportation and not through KSDE. And I think some got away from it then, and now it's shifted back over to KSDE. Obviously the testing and stuff is still ran through the state, but I'm not certain how many do.
It's serious.
It's
like we have a really good.
It is,
program.
it's really hard to, they don't come out with a bachelor's degree and have that on their license anymore. They just don't, it's something extra they have to go beyond and get, so.
Well, I know as a small district, it's a good thing, but Manhattan does it.
Do they?
Yeah, because I've got a couple of friends of mine that are drivers in the summer that drive.
Do they have good outcomes? I mean, or,
Seem like it, but
Okay.
I mean, the kids meet them at the middle school and, you know, but Manhattan still does it, so it must be,
yeah.
and that's a big district.
It is.
Local district, so.
And there's some around here that still have it in classroom, where we don't, we're online. I'd say there's more online than in class, doing in class ones. And I've had some from here, they've wanted the class, and so we, you know, give them information to other districts if they want to. And then the last thing I have on here, we're gonna wait and present a draft calendar in January. But we've been working on that. It is a later start for Keisha. And the only reason I say that is that's one of the pieces that builds in, not just holidays and Board of Regents, but put that into consideration as well. So we'll have a draft one in January, and then hope to have you all approve it in February. I hope by the January one too, we can also have some potential summer dates, because it'll be our last summer for summer. So hopefully we'll have more on that. I attached, my, quarter two update that went out to the staff. Kind of, just have a little three-part thing that I send out. And then I put on here our work-based learning and IPS report, and it's a lot of graphs and charts, but I think something to highlight on the IPS is all of our students in, 8 through 12 have an individual plan of study. They have the interest inventory and their courses aligned to that. So you can tell on there, like electronic portfolio is at 414, where those other things are at 516. And so that shows you our high school kids. That's more of our 912. Something you'll see if anyone who signs up for the academic ambassadors, one of the highlights we're videoing this week is our seniors showing what they've been working on in either English 12 or English Comp, working on their portfolios and their websites that have their resume, cover letter, their references, all those things that they're going to start putting into action for scholarships or applications to jobs or colleges or those kind of things. So we're going to have them highlight that. And on the work-based learning, something to kind of highlight on the high school side is our school-based experiences and our school-based enterprise. Those areas, those bars, those represent our school businesses. So at Wakefield, that's our Wakefield workshop. At Clay Center, that's the Roar Store and Tiger News television, as well as yearbook in both of our schools. And then our internships, not just all those bars decorate across 3/4 of the different pathways. So we have quite a variety of whether it be internships or job shadows going on the community. So, and we put all of our ag internships under comprehensive ag, but they're very different, and they stretch across all the different ag pathways for sure. So same with our job shadows. So just wanted to include that in we do one each quarter, so we will update those quarterly.
Well, I can speak from experience. So I have twins that are seniors and I quizzed them yesterday. And because I was looking at this and they all knew that they had their resume ready, their cover letter, and both of them knew all those. Their letter of recommendation, obviously not yet, but their interest inventory, they're both in an internship. So like it's working and it matters because they are involved in the process of applying for schools and emailing back and forth with admissions reps and doing all those things on their own. And not so much like when Maddie was a senior, we didn't have as many of those things. It wasn't as rigorous as it is. And it's different. So I applaud you guys. It's working. I'm impressed. Thank you. Any questions for Jacqueline? That takes us then to our business and discussion items. And the first is the policy updates. We do have 2 policy updates that we need to review and or approve.
Yeah, so
Any questions?
JBCC, you're probably getting tired of seeing by now. It's been hanging around for 6 to 8 months. As a reminder, this came out of the legislative session maybe a year and a half ago and set a due date of January to have a policy adopted. So probably every school district across the state has a meeting tonight is doing it. We did work with council and make it our own a little bit and unique to our district for what we thought was important to us. And those edits have been shown to you guys for a number of months now. It did require that we hold a hearing. We held our hearing last month. And then it requires that the policy is in place by January. There will be one more step that we have to do between now and May. We will have to talk about the pros and cons of setting capacity limits. And every May, we will have to do that. So every May, I will have to bring a recommendation to you on capacity limits. And you guys will either have to agree or disagree with that or meet somewhere in between. But I'm still unpacking that a lot, having a lot of conversations with my colleagues across the state about the pros and cons of You know, do you set your capacity limits low? Do you set them high? I mean, for us, we've had basically an open enrollment policy forever. If you're out of district and you're in good standing with your previous district, we take you. The biggest kicker is the things that we look for is, you know, red flags that we think might not set that particular student up for success. For example, attendance, like if we have an out of district application and they had serious attendance challenges in their home district, we typically look at that and we ask questions, but we typically would look at that and go, well, if you had a difficult time, you know, making it to school and attending school in your home district, the odds are probably fairly good that it's going to be even harder if you're going, just little things like that. And we hope that this policy, honestly, in my opinion, does not change a practice that we've had in the past. In my opinion, this policy was put into legislation potentially for your big cities. And we just unfortunately are inheriting the consequences of, you know, laws going into place for things that probably should be local decision, in my opinion. The good news is I don't anticipate it changing our practice a lot, but we will need to talk about pros and cons to capacity limits between now and May.
The other one is seatbelt.
Yeah, that was Mr. McCoy came and brought up something to our attention. Again, it doesn't change anything we're currently doing. It doesn't change anything we would do in the future. It's just a written policy that this is the practice that we follow.
Right, I'd like to make a motion to approve the update to policy EDAA and policy JBCC as presented.
Second.
Motion is second. Do we have any questions? All those in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Great. Our next item is item B, which is the new activity fund. You guys remember we pulled that out of consent last month to discuss a little bit further. So there's a report there.
Yeah, you guys had asked us for some more information, so Mr. Huffman put together a formal board report, explain what that looks like and what that means and the reason why. And then as a reminder, last spring, you approved a new supplemental through negotiations at Wakefield High School called Skills USA. They need an activity account, so they have a place to put their funds for their activity. And so, and it is important to note that whether it be FFA or some other programs, like the national organizations charge a membership, a per student membership dues. And so our policy, you know, obviously there's nothing in policy that prevents those clubs from doing that. They collect it from there and it goes on. But it is, if they collect a fee, that's going to go into the account from the students and be used locally to run their club. Technically, the board needs to approve that. So we had them put that in this part. And I think it's $5 they're proposing that they would collect as a fee for students participating in Skills USA. That goes into Skills USA activity account, and then it can be used for programming and the activities that they participate in under that national organization umbrella. And so, and I know Mr. Hoffman was going to be here in case you had questions, but they had a ball game going on tonight too, and he wasn't sure between ball games and supervision and getting over here. But
I move to approve the activity funds presented.
Second. Motion and second to approve as presented. Any questions? All those in favor? Great, 7-0. Right, then the next item is the KASB Board of Education Governance Orientation.
yeah, sorry, I don't know if that's the right wording or not, but at any rate, we have as you guys know, 3 new board members coming in. And so that'll change the dynamic of our board. And so the KSB does a training, and it's really more of a feedback session for the old board and the new old board, experienced board and new board, not that you're old or anything, Jeff, but the experienced board.
Andy's over now.
And the new board to,
Comes out.
yeah, they would come together and facilitate a discussion with the new incoming board members and experienced board members and talk about you know, hey, are there new procedures that we want to talk about on how our expectations as a board, you know, processes and procedures is really their focus. They'll go through some scenarios with the new board dynamic and say, okay, here's a scenario. What are the expectations of the board in regards to how it's handled, how it's communicated? A scenario might be, dealing with board members as a board member. If you get X, Y, or Z coming to you, how do we want to proceed forward as a board with information? And so really it's a time set aside for the new board members, experienced board members to come to some agreements on procedures and policies, and not policies, but practices related around that. And Britton Hart would be available on February 1st. He's really busy because he's doing this with about every board across the state, him or his team, of course. But
What day of the week is it?
Thursday, does that sound right? It's a Thursday. And so time was pretty limited to choose from. We can say no if you guys don't want to do it, but I did have him lock in that date a few weeks ago just to make sure it didn't get taken.
Are our new board members available?
Shanna and Tracy are back here.
Are you guys available?
I think it would be very good for the board to do. I wish we had had that when I was coming on board, just to gather some more insight of how it is to work on a board together. So I think it would be beneficial for the team.
And I just want to take an opportunity to give a shout out to our new board members coming in. They've, several of them have been spending some good quality time with me and just going over all the ins and outs of the district, how we communicate, you know, finance stuff and some things. So thank you guys for spending time and being willing to do that. All three new board members are going to attend boardsmanship training, new board training, basically on January 17th in Topeka. And so again, for our new board members, thank you. That's it's just a testament to your dedication and willingness to grow and learn with us. And so I greatly appreciate that. And a lot of things coming up, and those things only work if we have members that are willing to do that. So thank you.
It says we require a motion to hold a special meeting. Do we need to make that motion
I
today?
mean, Dusty, right? It would be a special.
Yeah, you're gonna call a special meeting or
Because it's not regularly scheduled. And so I would imagine
do a motion tonight and set that special meeting.
I move that we hold a special meeting on February 1st from 6 to 8 PM here in SAC.
Actually, I would do that starting at 6.
Starting at 6. And do we need to have a specific topic of KSB?
It'll be for the, yeah.
Or KSB, Board of Education, Governance Orientation. Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second to hold a special meeting on February 1st,
Starting at 6 p.m.
starting at 6 p.m. Okay, any questions? All those in favor? Motion carries 7-0. All right, the next item is the republished budget general fund discussion. So obviously an attachment, but I think I'll let you kind of summarize, if you will,
Sure.
as you did.
Yeah, so something, I don't know if it's a statewide trend or not, but as we, you know, COVID, we finished with COVID and we've kind of moved on, but since COVID, we've had some interesting demographic changes in our district, specifically with students who qualify for free lunch, and which impacts high density at risk. And high density at risk is a formula or a weighting that we can receive as a district, and that's dependent upon either a building's percentage of free lunch or the districts. You can qualify in two ways. So in the hinge point's 35%, and up until last year, we, if any, very, very little high density at risk dollars. And so again, that's a weighting based on the percent of free qualifying students in our building and our district. Last year, we went over that mark further than we ever had. I think, as memory serves, it was about 11.1. That weighting equated to about 11.1 FTE. So 11.1 times your base aid per pupil. We targeted that money for use to for a full-time certified intervention teacher at Wakefield. That was a new position that you guys approved. And we dedicated those dollars to go directly to that person. Because when we did our needs assessment, in the winter time, that's what our staff and and told us at Wakefield. It's what our data showed that we needed. And that's been going very, very well. That person's been trained in our intervention program, and there's some students now that are more students than ever that are receiving very high quality interventions now. And so thank you for doing that. I think, in my opinion, is a great use of those additional dollars. So every July, we have to estimate. So when we fill out the budget software, we have to estimate how many students are going to qualify, and we don't know until September 20th. So it truly is our best guess. And the most logical piece of data that we use is the number of students that qualified the year before and what percent each building was at the year before. I don't know the reasons why, but we had a significant increase, and we budgeted around where we ended last year, put a little cushion on it just so we have budget authority. Well, our cushion wasn't enough. We far exceeded. We went through September 20th, and now we know where we set in regards to qualifications. And so we have more students than ever qualifying, which means more weightings, which means more aid coming to us. But we have to have the authority to collect that aid. And we didn't budget high enough to have the authority to collect that aid. So if we want to collect that aid for high density at risk and the number of students qualifying, we need to increase our general fund legal max. The only way we can do that is to republish, because we don't have the authority, because our general fund number wasn't high enough in the summer. And so it doesn't affect any local taxes. It doesn't change the amount of taxes we collect. Aid comes from the state, and that's in general fund. And so that would increase our weightings likely by it looks, it's not final until KSD does our audit, but generally speaking, you're within a half of a student or one. And so this new authority should ensure that we have enough authority to collect that aid when it comes to it. So, but again, we have to do that. We would have to republish, hold a hearing, and then you guys would have to approve the new legal max in general fund. And we always, as you guys know, during budgeting season, that authority, that initial general max that we get is always higher than we're actually going to get. But as you guys know, we can't do it if we don't have the authority to do it. So we always build in additional room in regards to authority. We don't spend it. We just have to put that into our budget so that we have the authority. And unfortunately, we just didn't aim high enough this year. So
I don't think the district should miss out on $100,000 of free state aid by not republishing. So it is in our best interest for the financial benefit of the district to republish to capture that $100,000. So I move to republish.
I think we gotta have,
So we have to
have a motion for a hearing. Do you need a motion for a hearing?
Yeah.
special
Set the hearing.
hearing next.
So it's gonna be our next board meeting. It's January
At 6 p.m.
8th. Yeah. Okay.
So do you need the motion to republish and a motion for a hearing?
I think you can put that in the same.
Okay, I move to republish the budget and hold a hearing on January 8th at 6 p.m.
Second. Okay, motion is second. Do we have questions? Okay, all those in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you. Next item is a dishwasher replacement that is at the high school.
So this is something, again, you're probably maybe getting tired about hearing. That's a very rare problem in our world. But food service operates as its own fund. It's like its own business within a school district. But it does involve federal dollars, because free lunch is reimbursed by a lot of federal dollars. And so with federal dollars comes federal rules, and their rules govern that we can only carry 3 months worth of expenses as a cash balance. Well, since we've made the change to Chartwell's food service management company, Food service only, operates with student participation. Student participation means students eating lunch and breakfast. And so we have continue higher than ever. Our kids are eating breakfast and our kids are eating lunch with us. And so, that means that we, I think when I first started here, I think we were supplementing general or food service by like 40 to 60,000 a year, depending on the year. And we continue to operate on the right side of revenue within the food service fund. And you have to, because food service is expensive. And I mean, this dishwasher, I about fell out of my chair on the cost
I
of
would
it.
say at that price, we'll have an extra employee because it ought to load itself.
I know it's.
I just want to get back in to bring my dishes to the high school.
And so we did that needs assessment and audit of all our food service kitchen. And so we've been, number one priority was what's costing us the most money right now? What is nickel and diming us in the district? And it started with some fridges and some freezers that we were dumping 1,000 here, 2,000 in here to keep up and running and going. And that we're old and that we're nickel and diming us with repairs. And we started upgrading there. We did, lunch trays. It doesn't sound like a big thing, but when you do, we hadn't bought lunch trays in forever and they didn't stack. And as you know, we load those trays onto a truck every day, take them up to the high school, they get washed. They come back down and I have always questioned that practice, but now when I see the cost of a dishwasher, I understand why. And so we've been doing lots of things. I think the next, another thing that was it last month or the month before, we put a bid out to replace, the condensing units on the walk-in freezer. We keep about $40,000 of food inventory in there at any one point in time. And again, I think we spent $2,000 or $3,000 on those. This dishwasher was, I believe, I was told like the early
It
nineties,
says in the
maybe.
report early 90s, and we spent almost 5,000 last year repairing it.
And so it's, a lot of money, but
At 10%
But we
of the
have
cost
the-
of a new one repairing the old one. That doesn't make sense.
But we have the funds available to pay for it, whereas.
It's pretty sad when the labor is more than the dishwasher.
Yeah, it's true.
That's not very common. That the labor is more than what you're putting in.
Equipment. Okay, any questions from anyone else about that?
I believe we accepted it for the replacement of the dishwasher at Clayton High School. From Central Mechanical Construction, an amount of $114,138.73.
Second. Okay, motion and second to accept as presented. Any question? All those in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Oh, and then we have a couple of future items that we want to just make mention of, calendar considerations, which Jacqueline mentioned just a little while ago. Guys, I think we'll have a draft to review in January and then approve in February. Usually how that works. Anything else to add there, Jacqueline?
Well, I think I have some stuff on there on just different ways the calendar is built. Those is down right now, but
Yeah.
there's 3 different ways or 3 different documents that dictate. It's pretty complex. So,
6 different steps and
yeah, it takes time, but
lots of people involved.
yeah.
policy updates to KSB usually in December, they come out, and so they're out now, but we felt like instead of doing a first read and an approval with our new board, that we would allow our new board members to see the first review of them, let them sit 30 days and then do the approval in February. And so I haven't spent a lot of time on them yet, but I've been told that there's not that many significant things, but again, I haven't spent a lot of time. And then, we'll need next month, we need to talk about the facility tour dates with our new board members on when you guys would like to do that.
Well, that concludes our regular board meeting. We will take a little break, a couple minutes maybe, and then we'll go into executive session. So thank you for everybody being here. Appreciate it. Okay, I move we go into executive session to discuss the superintendent evaluation and other private personal matters pursuant to the non-elected personnel exemption under KOMA. The open meeting will resume at 7:10 and will include,
I need 15.
So we
You
want,
guys-
we
I'm
want
sorry,
to go 7:20. That'll give us 10 minutes after he's done.
perfect. So scratch part of that. We're gonna go 25 minutes and we'll resume at 7:20 here in this room. It will include superintendent, council and the board.
Second.
All those in favor? Motion carries. I move we, extend the executive session for an additional 10 minutes to end at 7:30.
Okay.
All those in favor, motion carries 7-0. Okay, so we're back and we have a couple of things to make motions on.
Get him in here.
He is in here, but we'll have him sit down. Number one, I'd like to make a motion to approve the review and goals of Mr. Nelson's 2023 performance results.
Second.
Any questions? All those in favor? Motion carries 7-0. The second, I would like to make a motion to approve as presented Superintendent Nelson's goals for 2024.
Second.
All those in, any questions? All those in favor? Motion carries 7-0. And finally, I would like to make a motion to approve the extension of Mr. Nelson's contract through June of 2026 as presented.
Second.
All those in favor? That motion carries 7-0. Move on then to the personnel section. Some employments, resignations, and a retirement. And a supplemental.
Move to approve the personnel report, including supplemental updates as presented.
Second. Okay, the motion is second to approve. All those in favor? Motion carries 7-0.
And Ms. Rosen.
Second. Second favor. Motion carries 7-0.
Yes.